The Sports Source Saturday Kickoff is presented by Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville on Callahan Drive and by the Garza Law Firm.
Ultimately, it's going to be how Tennessee responds to getting punched in the mouth early up front. I think they have one of the better, if not one of the top 5 to 8 offensive lines in the nation.
But if Tennessee goes to Oklahoma and wins that game, and especially if they win it convincingly, they're definitely in right there alongside Georgia, Texas, and Alabama.
How much usage is there behind Sampson? I'm going to bet on a workhorse game.
When you watch Oklahoma, I don't see an elite running back. I don't see a receiver that can take the top off the defense.
You're going to have to be under control when you're rushing. You'll take off and run. I'm sure they'll have some design runs in there. So this is just going to be a different kind of quarterback than what you've seen in the first 3 weeks.
This will be the best defense that they have faced since Iowa. Iowa got them 6 times.
As for telling them what to expect during the game, you can tell them all day long, but until they truly experience it, it's hard for them to grasp it. We used to always to start off with Auburn. That challenge was you step on the field and you know at Auburn you're going to get hit with frozen oranges, so have your helmet.
Welcome into the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. I'm John Pennington, joined by VFL Kevin Simon, VFL Ollie Lane. We're here to get you ready for Tennessee, Oklahoma. Everybody's been looking forward to this since it popped up on the schedule, since Oklahoma came into the SEC. Finally here, Tennessee's going to get a real test over in Norman, Oklahoma tonight. We are at Rusty Wallace Kia on Callahan Drive. Folks, I know these people well because I've bought 5 straight vehicles down here. 4 Kia Sorentos, never had a problem with any of them. That's why I kept getting them. Now I'm driving a Kia Telluride, which is my favorite vehicle ever. And I've driven a lot of cars in my time, but I love that Kia Telluride. I've got friends who have the Kia Optimas. Trust me, folks, if you're looking for a Kia, this is the place to do it. They will beat any deal you get from any Kia dealer on a new Kia from anywhere in the country. All right, so if you spend anywhere else on a Kia dealer, you're wasting money. Rusty Wallace Kia of Callahan Drive. All right, let's talk about this game. Quickly, got about a minute and a half I'll throw to you, and then I want to get into some of the silent count stuff with Ollie here. Kevin, we call this segment, What's the Story? What's the storyline tonight as we go to Norman, Oklahoma? It's been a while since Tennessee has won a big game. Since 2006 was the last time they beat a top 15 SEC foe on the road. Fans are nervous about it. What's the storyline you're looking at tonight, though?
I think it might be my coaching background kicking in, but the biggest storyline I'm looking at are the guys that haven't been on the field and how many Sooners will they get back? You know, Joshua Bates is starting center. Will he be back? Will Jake Taylor starting right tackle? You know, both listed as questionable, which is about a 50% standard. But specifically, the guys that scare me at night are Nick Anderson, the dynamic wide receiver, 6'4", 216, averaged 21 yards a catch last year, 10 touchdowns. He's probable for the game. This will be his first action. And then you got Andrell Anthony, the wide receiver, another explosive guy, Michigan transfer, led them in receiving them through the first 5 games before tearing their ACL. Played sparingly against or in limited snaps against Temple, but it seems like Brent Venables has these guys ready, trying to put some bullets in the gun for old Josh Heupel on his return.
Well, it's like Lance Hurd for Tennessee. A lot of people say he could have played last week. He'll be back in there against Oklahoma. He was listed as kind of questionable, but he'll be more than likely in there. But you've got an injury matchup that favors Tennessee on paper. You don't have as many banged-up guys as they have. So which of those guys are back for Oklahoma? That's your main storyline of the night. Another part of this storyline, Ollie, Tennessee, we put this on our Sunday show, The Sports Source, last week. Josh Heupel, since he's been at Tennessee, has averaged 45 points at home, 42 points on 5 neutral site games, 31 points on the road. 2 touchdown drop, that's pretty big. A lot of people have questions. They look at South Carolina, although you put up 38 points that game. A lot of people look at South Carolina. They look at Missouri. They look at Florida. They say there's something up. There's something with this offense. It doesn't travel well. You played over there last year. Is there something to that?
You know, there's a little bit to that story. I mean, obviously, when you go to silent count, it's going to slow down your tempo a little bit. The now control of who's snapping the ball, who's got control of that, and when it's coming is now the center versus your quarterback. And you got to make sure everybody's kind of tied in on that. If you got guys thinking other things, you got to really glue into it when you're on silent count, because there's no audio that you're hearing. Yeah. It's just a bunch of loud fans yelling at you. So you really got to focus in, like, oh, that ball's moving now, I got to go. You're not going to be able to get that same jump on snap counts that you have.
Can't be as aggressive. I wouldn't
exactly.
Think. Yeah. When you look at a guy like Nico Iamaleava, he said in the offseason famously that I love road games. Well, he's going to figure out what a road game is like in the SEC tonight. You got a new quarterback in that situation, for that kind of situation. You got an offensive line that some of these guys haven't played together in this situation. What's Tennessee do before the game, like opening kickoff?
Yeah.
What do they do to get those guys ready to figure out how we're going to handle this tonight?
Yeah, so, I mean, basically, even before we decide if we're going to do silent count or not through the game, I mean, obviously you practice all week doing both of them. You got the pumped-in crowd noise in the practice field. It's not the same. So normally what we do when we get to the big road games like that, we all kind of gather around the offensive bench over by the end zones for the opening kick. So normally opening kick of any college football game is going to be one of the loudest points of the game. And so what we'll do is we'll all kind of gather up. You'll get your 5 starting offensive line in front. And then I guess what they'll end up doing this week is they'll put Nico back there. And what Nico will do is he'll clap. And if they can hear the clap, then we're just going to roll with the clap. We're not going to mess around with this silent count stuff. But, however, that's going to help us know if there's a sound issue early before we get out there. And now we're figuring out, hey, we're coming to the sideline. We can't hear the clap. Well, now we're figuring that out a step ahead, which is going to be which helps out a ton.
All right, very good. We will be back here. But first, we want to go to Jimmy Hines, who will get you ready with 3 things to know about Oklahoma.
There are 3 things to know about Oklahoma. First off, they have a storied football program. They've won 7 national championships. They've had 7 Heisman Trophy winners. They've won 49 conference championships. They also have the Division I record for most consecutive wins at 47 that was set in the 1950s. And by the way, in the last 10 years, they've only lost 5 games at home. This is an elite program. And one other note, in the last 24 years, they have been ranked in the top 10 in every AP poll at some point in the season. Secondly, Oklahoma's offense is not really that prolific. They only average 325 yards per game. Jackson Arnold, their quarterback, has been asked to carry too much of the load. He leads the team in rushing, although it's only 53 yards per game. He's only throwing for 161 yards per game. Oklahoma only got 16 points against Houston. And when you watch Oklahoma, I don't see an elite running back. I don't see a receiver that can take the top off of defense. Thirdly, Josh Hopgood played at Oklahoma. He helped the Sooners win a national championship in 2000. He was a runner-up in the Heisman Trophy, and he had a great couple of years at Oklahoma. However, after the 2014 season, he was fired as their offensive coordinator. There is no doubt he's got revenge on his mind. There's no doubt the Tennessee players would like to help him. Watch for a Tennessee team that is more motivated than normal in Norman. Back to you, John.
Thanks, Jimmy. We've still got a lot to come here on the Saturday kickoff, including 15 score predictions from everyone in today's show. And here's a taste of who's coming up and what they're going to be doing.
I'm Josh Ward, and we're going to use prop bets to determine who will thrive and who won't in tonight's game.
I'm Ryan Callahan, and I'll tell you how Tennessee and Oklahoma are going head-to-head in recruiting in addition to on the field.
I'm Paige Dower, and we'll tell you 3 reasons why tonight's game against Oklahoma might be closer than people think.
And I'm David Ubben, and I'll tell you which SEC teams have the best paths to the playoff.
It's kickoff time in Tennessee.
Hey folks, it's Jake from Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, and it's time for you to score the biggest deals of the season. You can get in the end zone with up to $10,000 over KBB value for your trade. And as always, every new Kia comes with Rusty's exclusive 200,000-mile warranty. So draw up the winning play and hurry in today to get up to $10,000 over KBB value for your trade. Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, I-75 at Callahan Drive.
For 4 generations, A.G. Hines Company has been a pillar of the Knoxville community. And since Albert Hines Sr. opened our doors back in 1920, we've been supplying do-it-yourselfers with revolutionary products and tools. Manufactured stone is lighter, more cost-effective than traditional stone, featuring greater consistency of material and quicker installation times. Cutting-edge materials and tools at affordable prices. That's what we've provided for more than a century at A.G. Hines Company.
I was coming home and a lady hit me head-on. It totaled my car, it fractured my right heel, and it bruised me up really badly. the Garza Law Firm. They were very compassionate, but yet they were very detailed. They didn't let me down. They never stopped fighting. It helped me regain confidence in law firms. I would definitely recommend the Garza Law Firm.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
A day on the lake is more than just time on the water. It's a memory, a story that can last a lifetime. And no one makes memories like Madisonville Marine. Terrific prices, first-class customer service, and the area's biggest selection of boats, like G3 John boats, Gator Tough. These rugged boats are durable and dependable, season after season. Center or side console, storage boxes. Custom design your boat for your needs. Madisonville Marine. There's no better place to buy a boat.
Chris Smith was once let down by an insurance company, so he became an agent to make sure someone is fighting for you. Shop insurance now. See how Chris can give you peace of mind and save you some money. All insurance is not equal. Trust Chris Smith Insurance.
Every Sunday morning, The Sports Source brings you 90 minutes of honest, intelligent Vols coverage. More analysts, more topics, more fun. The Sports Source, Sundays at 11 on WATE TV 6 and WATE.com.
It's the week we've all been waiting for. The Vols get their SEC slate started, but before we get to that game, let's check out what else is on WATE today. First up is an ACC matchup between North Carolina State and Clemson at noon. LSU will host UCLA in a Big Ten SEC contest at 3:30. That all leads up to Tennessee's SEC opener and Josh Heupel's homecoming against Oklahoma. Kickoff is set for 7:30 p.m. We'll have a full recap of the contest, plus hear from Josh Heupel and the players on our SEC wrap-up show. That's, of course, after the game, John.
Thanks, Reese. Welcome back to Rusty Wallace Kia on Callahan Drive. If you are heading out tonight, if you're going to a party, you've got a designated driver, and you're 21 or up, get yourself a 4-pack or an 8-pack of Freshie, organic tequila mixed with seltzer in a ready-to-drink can. Look them up online. You're going to see great reviews for Freshie. Matter of fact, we keep cans of Freshie right at the Bandit Lights Bar, and that's where we're going now for Paige Dower, Bob Hodge, Vince Ferrara, Dave Hooker, and a segment we call The 3 Reasons.
Thanks, John. We're now going to turn our attention to 3 reasons why this game against Oklahoma tonight might be a bit closer than what people are initially projecting. And I think we have to start with the fact that looking at Oklahoma through these first 3 games, they have looked very pedestrian. They have not looked locked in. It might be because of the caliber of opponent, but the same thing can be said for what Tennessee has looked like through their first 3 games. But when they looked locked in, it was in that fourth quarter against Tulane, specifically with our Mason Thomas, who is the National Player of the Week defensively for those efforts, because in the fourth quarter alone, he had 3 sacks, a QB hurry, a PBU, a fumble recovery, and that defensive line was able to hold Tulane to just 179-ish yards on the ground in the second half alone. So I think if we continue to see what they look like when they're focused, that could give Tennessee's offense a bit of trouble on Saturday night, later tonight.
I think ultimately it's going to be how Tennessee responds to getting punched in the mouth early up front. I think they have one of the better, if not one of the top 5 to 8 offensive lines in the nation, and I think they'll respond well. But through the first 3 games, you can't say that they have faced any sort of challenge early. So, Vince, I would think that early off in the game, I'm interested to see how they respond, because I think they can match up okay physically. It's just different. They haven't faced that in the first 3 games.
Yeah, there's more talent on that Oklahoma defensive line than what they've seen. Also, NC State, the best team they played was 3 down front. Oklahoma was 4 down front. There'll be times where they'll probably bring some pressures that Tennessee has not seen, especially if they can't get home with 4. So they are going to give Tennessee's offensive line some different looks, Bob. So I think that D-line offensive line matchup is going to be very important.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go over on the other side of the ball and look at Oklahoma's offense.
Yeah.
Because you've got with Jackson Arnold the first really athletic quarterback that Tennessee has faced. So he's got a better arm than what Tennessee has faced. Now, I don't know if you can say he's had better receivers. Their starting receivers aren't playing. But I think that offense could present Tennessee with problems because you're going to have to be under control when you rush him. He'll take off and run. I'm sure they'll have some design runs in there. So this is just going to be a different kind of quarterback than what you've seen in the first 3 weeks. And I think it's going to give Tennessee's defensive line a test because you've got to be disciplined. And you've also got to be aware that this guy, just because, okay, we've got him buttoned up, he also has the escapability.
Yeah.
So I think that looking at this game could really, really keep it close is they've got a 5-star quarterback just like Tennessee has their 5-star quarterback.
And we saw the issues at Tennessee in the start of the game against NC State. They had a little bit of trouble on offense on defense because they were kind of more up tempo, and they were able to get their first and few first downs of the game in that first quarter because it's not something that they had really seen from their other opponent, which was of course this UT Chattanooga. But you would hope that going up against Nico in practice and that offensive line has you ready if they're trying to simulate something like an up-tempo offense.
Well, he leads them in rushing, Dave. So now maybe that's a bad sign, but also it shows that that's a threat and something they have to be ready for. They're going to probably try to move Tennessee's defensive line, tire them out, but it is a different dynamic.
Well, and also we mentioned the defensive line has to have the correct gap integrity, but Keenan Billy is a guy that I think is poised for a really big game. I like how he gets sideline to sideline, and Tennessee's linebackers also have to be really cognizant. If you mentioned moving the pocket around and a mobile quarterback.
Yeah. And so we got 2 there. I'll throw in a third, and this is maybe a little bit more big picture. We haven't seen Tennessee's offense travel on the road in big-time environments, especially against elite opponents. A couple of years ago even, with Hendon Hooker in Georgia, and then they lost against South Carolina as well. It doesn't even have to be elite teams because Florida counts in there too. It's just something that it hasn't operated. We've seen false starts, and those penalties really stack up. So I think that's a box. I'm not saying they can't do it, but it's a box that they got to check, Bob, that, hey, they can overcome the crowd in those environments. And maybe they can, and the quarterback's different, and the defense is much better. So maybe those things offset, but it is something it's a possibility to why maybe this game is a little bit closer.
Well, I thought, you laid the big egg when Hendon Hooker was a senior when he went to South Carolina. Right. And then last year, I really thought the entire year that Joe Milton didn't look quite comfortable being back there. He never, to me, at any point last season, or when he played even in the Citrus Bowl and was the MVP, he didn't look as comfortable as Nico looked. And I think that is going to be kind of tell the tale, because if Nico goes out there, if he does let the crowd get to him, then you're setting up exactly what you said, which is you're on the road, the crowd's got to you, your offense loses that tempo. Yeah. And it's been flying again this year. Last year it didn't, and it has this year. So I really think that, with Nico, it looks to me like maybe that road problem is solved just because you've got a better guy back there calling the signals.
Yeah, and I know we have those neutral site games like when they were in Orlando or even in Charlotte, but you have to think a lot of it too is just muscle memory. Like, have you been on the opposing sideline before? The opposing locker room. That all kind of ends up being the same once you've done it a couple of times. Maybe not for Heupel, because he did mention he's never been on the opposing sideline at Oklahoma. So it's going to be different for a lot of reasons, but you have to hope and trust that some of their experience and being in unfamiliar environments in the past few weeks will help them coming into Oklahoma.
Playing off what Bob said, I don't think Joe Milton was ever comfortable, but I don't think Tennessee's coaching staff was ever comfortable with him in the plays that they called. That's why wide receiver screen left, wide receiver screen right, and I think they're more comfortable in calling plays over the middle of different places in the field with Nico.
But because that box still needs to be checked, they were comfortable with Hendon Hooker a couple of years ago.
Sure.
And still had trouble.
And you still struggle.
Yeah.
And part of that was the offensive line. It was the wide receiver. It was everybody. So we talk so much about how Nico's going to handle the situation. It's everybody that probably hasn't been in those roles.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think those are 3 good reasons why it might be a close game tonight. But when we come back, we're going to have John, Kevin, and Ollie talking to you guys about the Tennessee offense and defense and how it matches up with Oklahoma's offense and defense.
Hey folks, it's Jake from Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville. You hear lots of offers with insane prices, unbelievable trade-in promotions, and crazy gimmicks. But aren't you tired of all that noise? Look, at Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, our message is simple. We'll beat any dealership's price on any new Kia, no matter who they are, no matter where they are, period. If you don't buy your new Kia on Callahan Drive, you'll pay too much. Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, I-75 at Callahan Drive.
Safety Systems, East Tennessee's top provider of home automation, security, and life safety systems.
Home and commercial security.
Camera surveillance systems specifically designed for your property. Professional monitoring, complete with emergency and after-hours response and repair. Burglar alarms for all access points. Upgrade your home or business with a single phone call to Safety Systems, East Tennessee's leader in home and commercial security systems for more than 20 years.
Whether you're watching the big game or your favorite movie, Games and Things is your ticket to the best seat in the house. It's time to get rid of that old, worn-out recliner and replace it with home theater seating from Games and Things. We offer the largest selection of quality seats at the best price in East Tennessee. With an endless variety of styles, configurations, and options, you are sure to find that perfect seat. Stop by Games and Things to upgrade your seats today at the corner of Kingston Pike and Lovell Road. Online at ourgameroom.com. Games and Things, 'cause life should be fun.
From family heirlooms to sports memorabilia, protect and showcase your treasures with custom frames and shadow boxes, each with a lifetime guarantee. Express Frame in the Common Shopping Center on North Peters Road.
So many people get their insurance through an app these days, but are you getting the best deal, the coverage you need? And when you really need that coverage, who's fighting for you? All insurance is not equal. Trust Chris Smith Insurance.
3 Tennessee recruits to watch, and this week we're going to focus on Tennessee and Oklahoma, 2 schools that don't butt heads a lot in recruiting, but do cross paths sometimes, as we saw earlier this year. One of the Vols' current commitments, offensive lineman Anthony Cade Ogumaro, is now in Oklahoma, moved there last fall from a school in North Carolina where he had lived for a while. He's a military kid who sort of lived all over, so he doesn't have deep ties to Oklahoma, but was a big-time target for the Sooners in-state earlier this year before he picked Tennessee back in May. It actually came down to those 2 schools in the end, and the Sooners sent an assistant coach or 2 to his school the day before he announced his decision, trying to sway him in their direction, but Tennessee was able to hold off in the end to land him a big-time target for them on the offensive line, and certainly a big-time battle between those 2 schools in the end. In the 2026 class, a couple names to watch that both schools are heavily involved with. One of them will be visiting Oklahoma this weekend for this game. Ja'Cory Smith, the 4-star linebacker from Little Rock, Arkansas. Tennessee got a chance to host him back in the spring for its spring game after giving him an offer back in early April. The Vols still heavily involved there. Oklahoma expected to get him on campus for this game tonight. And then also in-state for Oklahoma, an in-state target that Tennessee has already hosted too. Defensive lineman Taj Overton. He was in Knoxville back in late July for the Vols' Big Orange Kickoff event. Someone that's already talked about getting back to Tennessee for a game this season. And Oklahoma obviously making him a priority. He's a top 200 prospect nationally in-state for the Sooners. John, back to you.
Thanks, Ryan. Welcome back to the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. We're here at Rusty Wallace Kia on Callahan Drive. Ollie Lane, Kevin Simon, John Pennington. Ryan was talking about the talent that Oklahoma and Tennessee are battling for out on the recruiting trail. I want to talk about the talent those 2 teams are going to bring into action. Tonight, we do it in a segment called Checking the List. And what I want to do is I kind of want to take a different look at this. I want to look at when Tennessee and Oklahoma are both trying to run the football, who's got the advantage, and we'll look at who's got the advantage when they're attacking through the air. Ollie, I'll start with you, and then we can move it on over to Kevin's take. Tennessee's run game versus Oklahoma's run defense. That's strength on strength right there. On the other side, you got Oklahoma's run game with an offensive line that's kind of banged up versus Tennessee's strength with its defensive line. Who's got the advantage in this one? Tennessee when they run it or Oklahoma when they run it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely believe that Tennessee's got the stronger advantage just in terms of the talent in every position that's needed to run the football. They've proven that they can run the football very successfully. I think last week against Kent State, you cleared up some of those unknowns about who's playing what, rotating in that second running back position behind D. Samp. So I think they're only building a stronger and stronger run game. Now, obviously, Oklahoma's strength is their run defense, and they're going to do a good job of giving us fits. But like I've said many times before, these guys are schemers. They're going to scheme around this defense, and they're going to figure out ways to still run the ball successfully.
Kevin, your thoughts on who got the advantage when the ball is being run tonight?
Yeah, I mean, definitely agree with Ollie. I mean, Oklahoma is going to try to play on blocks thick. They're not getting upfield as much, which makes them better run stoppers than pass rushers, which will limit. We're not going to average 7 a carry and 336 yards like we have these first 3 games, but we'll make our plays in the game just because Dylan Sampson, Deshaun Bishop, and then Cam Seldon's a guy that I'm really excited to see back in the lineup. He has a lot of ability, especially at 6'1", 225 pounds.
Yeah, he's one of their biggest backs they've had in a while in terms of a guy that can really get in there and thump it. Let's flip it to the pass game. Tennessee through the air, you've got Nico Iamaleava, who this is his first road game, as we talked about in the first segment. You've got a receiving core that has lit it up against Kent State and Chattanooga. Against NC State, didn't have a big night because NC State kind of sat over the top. In terms of the other side, you mentioned a couple of Oklahoma receivers who will be back versus a Tennessee unproven secondary. So let me ask you, who's got the advantage when you're talking about the air game tonight? Is it Tennessee versus the OU secondary? Is it Oklahoma versus UT secondary?
Well, I guess all we can measure is what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
And what we've seen so far is, Tennessee, where we're having 303 yards passing per game to their 166 yards per game. Now, obviously, with Nick Anderson and Andrew Anthony, that should uptick just because these guys are dynamic, deep threat, especially Nick Anderson. Nick Anderson's the best wide receiver on the field, period. Wish he was in orange and white for us. And going against some proven secondary, Jermon McCoy's played really well. It'll be interesting to see that matchup. But obviously, with Nico and our pass game, I would give us the advantage there, especially when you start mixing in our tight ends. Kitzelman, what he's done, Ethan Davis. That's the way I'd see it.
Those guys can also be mentioned when we're talking about the run game as well, because they've shown themselves to be pretty good in just about all aspects. This tight end group's as good as I've seen at Tennessee in ages. What do you think about the pass game? You agree Tennessee's got the advantage?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree Tennessee's got the advantage. And I think, again, obviously you look at the secondary matchups, but it goes back to that front five, who's protecting who. And obviously I would feel more protected behind our offensive line than I'm going to feel behind their offensive line. And so it just depends who's going to make their quarterback feel more comfortable. Is it going to be Jackson or is it going to be Nico?
Well, that's where I was going to go next. We're talking about secondary and that kind of stuff. Let's look at the pass rush on these guys, all right? Because Brent Venables, he's known to bring pressure. They've got 11 sacks already on the year. We know about Tennessee's defensive line. Any concerns there that maybe part of your advantage goes away if they're able to get to Nico? The last time we saw Tennessee and Nico go up against a really good defense was Iowa in the Citrus Bowl. 6 sacks in that game. Like I say, Oklahoma's got 11 sacks in the year. Is that a concern for you that Oklahoma could possibly negate Tennessee's advantage in the pass game by getting to Nico Iamaleava?
Well, R. Mason, number 32 for them, had 3 sacks last week in the fourth quarter. So obviously he's a guy that you got your eyes on. But just generally speaking, they look to play the run first, and then there's a lull. They're almost late transitioning to pass, and you can speak a little bit more on that. In terms of the blitz package that Venables is throwing out there, the thing that I've seen is that it gets picked up a lot. Now he's thrown a lot of different things, but it seems like there has to be some tendencies there by distance to where opponents they've done their work and they're getting a body on a body before they're getting to the quarterback.
All right, very good, appreciate it. When we come back, prop bets, how Oklahoma will try and stop Tennessee's offense. Predictions from 15 people on today's show. We got a lot to come. Come on back on the Sports Source. Saturday Kickoff.
A day on the lake is more than just time on the water. It's a memory, a story that can last a lifetime. And no one makes memories like Madisonville Marine. Terrific prices, first-class customer service, and the area's biggest selection of boats, like Hurricane deck boats. Perfecting fun on the water for more than 45 years with innovative and incredibly versatile designs. Experience freedom, laughter, and adventure on the water with Hurricane. Madisonville Marine. There's no better place to buy a boat.
I see Marco's role in the community as somebody that people can look up to.
Marcos Garza is very thoughtful. He pays attention to the needs of the people in the community.
He's somebody that's very unselfish, somebody that's going to always be there.
Marcos Garza will work as hard as he can to get the best results for you.
In the future, no matter where I'm playing, no matter what the team I'm playing for, I'll always be on Garza's team.
The Garza Law Firm is Mama ZZ approved.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
It's kickoff time in Tennessee.
Hey folks, it's Jake from Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, and it's time for you to score the biggest deals of the season. You can get in the end zone with up to $10,000 over KBB value for your trade. And as always, every new Kia comes with Rusty's exclusive 200,000-mile warranty. So draw up the winning play and hurry in today to get up to $10,000 over KBB value for your trade. Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, I-75 at Callahan Drive.
After last week's beatdown of Kent State, Tennessee's still sitting there at probably in, which means if the committee decided the 12-team playoff today, Tennessee would more likely be in the field than not. But if Tennessee goes to Oklahoma and wins that game, and especially if they win it convincingly, they're definitely in, right there alongside Georgia, Texas, and Alabama. Now, yes, it's a long season. We still have almost 2 months until the selection committee actually makes those 12-team selections. But here's what that means for Tennessee. They've got 2 massive games left on their schedule after Oklahoma. They host Alabama the third Saturday in October, and they go to Georgia. Tennessee has already won a game against NC State. If you beat Oklahoma, now what you're looking at is if you lose both of those games, you still have a great shot on Selection Sunday of getting in. You'll split those games, and you're definitely in the field and probably have a shot to play for an SEC title. So it's a big game on Saturday for Tennessee. And at this point, the way the Vols looked on the field, the way the math looks in their favor, if they're not in the playoffs, something would have had to have gone very, very wrong. Back to you, John.
Thank you, David. Welcome back to the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. Folks, if you're watching the game tonight and you're like, boy, I could be more comfortable, well, get to Games and Things, because they've got home theater seating like nobody else in town. If you may want sporty, you may want sleek, you may want high class, whether you want to feel like a home theater or you want to feel like a game room, they can do it. Games and Things, best selection in town. We're going now to the Games and Things Arena, where Josh Ward, Tyler Ivins, and Chuck Cavaleris are joined together for a segment we call Wise Guys.
Thanks, John. All right, guys, we have some prop bets here on the table. Why don't we see how many we can get through in about 7 minutes to get ready for Tennessee and Oklahoma?
Sounds good to me.
I'll grab the first one. Let's see what we have. All right, we'll start out with one of the most popular guys to talk about the last couple weeks, Dylan Sampson, over 115.5 rushing yards. He has been dominant for Tennessee through the first 3 games. He did all that he wanted to this past week. Dylan Sampson, over or under 115.5 yards in Norman.
This will be Tennessee's really their first test out of the season. And if there's one thing I have learned rewatching each of those Oklahoma games and looking at Brent Venables since he got to Norman, his defense is violent. Violent with a capital V. My question is simply this. If Tennessee goes out there and plays this game, how many punches are they going to take before, or if they actually maybe go back to the team that we saw last year? I think this is a really good number. Total yards, even out of the backfield, yes. Rushing, though, no. I think Oklahoma's strength clearly is Venables' defense. I think he falls under this number.
Yeah, I mean, that is an excellent number. I would take it under as well. Like you're saying, if it was, combined passing and rushing,
right,
then you got a good number. Of course, he's been over 100 all 3 games, right? So he's got a chance to threaten that if he does go over that, it's really good news for Tennessee.
My understanding was at the beginning of the season, Cam Seldon's target return date was Oklahoma. You try to go out there, run him out there against Chattanooga. He gets a handful of carries. He's been absent the last 2 weeks. I think we're going to see Cam Seldon return this week. I think that's another factor of why not only does the depth chart move down a little bit in the running back room, but then you have another excellent back that can help Dylan Sampson.
Yeah, I'm very curious about the rotation. How much usage is there behind Sampson? I'm going to bet on a workhorse game for Dylan Sampson in this game. If you gave me rushing and receiving over, I would jump. I will cautiously say over 115.5 on the ground for Dylan Sampson.
I'll go next, boys. I want to go right here. I think this is the one that kind of landed in my lap before we went live anyway. How about this? Will you let him loose? James Pierce over not 1, but 1.5 sacks. So is the Charlotte native going to get his hands on Jackson Arnold, more than once in this game tonight?
Well, there's an opportunity here because the offensive line is a question. Everybody's waiting for James Pierce to break out. Oklahoma has to worry about the interior of Tennessee's defensive line. And Pierce probably plays more snaps in this game. I think there's a chance we see an uptick. But I'll still say under because Oklahoma has to be aware of him. So I'll say he gets the quarterback. I'll say he gets one. But over 1.5, I don't think so.
Well, he needs to get his first one, right? Isn't that the way it is? So another good number, I would take under as well, but I do think he gets 1. So, but I'd take under 1.5.
You got to crawl before you can run here, boys. Get your first one, and then let's see how it plays out. That offensive line on the left side for Oklahoma is...
I know, that's what I'm...
Right? No, come with me on this. It is problems right now. So, now, do I think Oklahoma will be as vulnerable as maybe they've made themselves out to be? I wouldn't go that far. They've got some people that are returning. Pierce good for 1. I don't know if he's good for 1.
And the other good prop, which we couldn't really do, would be how many pressures he has. How many times he gets close. That's the number that would be, obviously, to me, higher than that.
So if we're all going under, there's the motivation James Pierce Jr. needs. Chuck, you want to grab
one?
Go
get you at least 2, James. All right, let's see what we got here, fellas. Will the final scoring play win the game? I'll go first and say no.
Maybe a tease toward your prediction for the game.
That's a really good one. I'm going to go no as well, too. No. I think Tennessee's going to have this game in hand by 10 points or so in that window of 8 to 10. And I think Tennessee will land the knockout blow in the fourth quarter. No. And I think by then it's all going to be about killing the clock.
Yeah, this is where Tennessee fans will get nervous because I'm going to say no as well, that Tennessee will have a good enough lead in the fourth quarter. I think it's going to be more competitive than a lot of the talk has been this week, but I'll say no. The final score does not win the game in this one tonight.
You would hope it would be Tennessee taking a knee, correct? The final play?
Yeah. I want to do snake draft here. I want to come back around and grab one of these here.
Do it.
How about this one? Oh. How about Boomer Sooner? How about Oklahoma's defense getting a hold of Nico 4 times? That's the over-under set at 3.5.
I'm going under on that. I mean, and that seems like a big number. Obviously, it's possible. But I think Tennessee and Nico escapability, especially to get out to his right, is good enough to where it would be under 3.5 sacks.
Well, this is my biggest question on the list of concerns you might have for Tennessee going into tonight's game. Pass pro, making sure Nico is taken care of because, one, if you get knocked back, you're knocking drives back, you're putting the football away, field position, but also you worry about the ball coming out, different things like that. If Oklahoma's able to go over this number, Oklahoma's a real chance to win the game. I'm going to say under. They'll get to him. I'll say under 3.5 sacks, though, for Oklahoma.
And you wonder if Brent Venables has got anything kind of special he's going to dial up. And he's as such a, renowned defensive coordinator, now the head coach. If he's got something he thinks will work to get to Nico at multiple times.
Tyler, what do we say?
It's close. I think that we could see this will be the best defense that they have faced since Iowa. Iowa got him 6 times. Over. I think I'm with you. This game will be a lot closer than people are dictating because of it being out in the Palace in the Midwest. I think they get exactly 4. But I think Tennessee finds a way to win this football game.
Interesting.
That's a really, really good one.
Yeah.
I think this one's yours.
Oh, there you go. I'm trying to bring it back to Dylan Sampson. Last one, guys. We'll run through this one. Over 7 total touchdowns in this game. Over 7 total touchdowns. We get both teams to work with here.
Yeah.
I think the But to save my score prediction, I think that we're going to be right at 7 touchdowns in this game scored. Tennessee's going to have the edge in that category. So I'm surprised this doesn't have a hook on it. But I think that tells you where Vegas is, or at least the public has taken it since it was released. Yeah, I think I'll take the over because I know I've got the safety of the push there with an even 7.
Chuck, over under 7?
I would take over 7.
Okay.
And I think that's a good number. But then you're looking, does somebody have 4, somebody have 3?
Yeah.
But I think that would go over 7.
Okay. Yeah. I'll go under. I'll say there's some red zone stops, some field goals. Max Gilbert maybe gets tested on the road a little bit. I'll say under 7 total touchdowns. Some folks that can help figure that out in the next segment. When we come back, John, Kevin, and Ollie with the game plan for tonight's game.
Whether you're watching the big game or your favorite movie, Games and Things is your ticket to the best seat in the house. It's time to get rid of that old, worn-out recliner and replace it with home theater seating from Games and Things. We offer the largest selection of quality seats at the best price in East Tennessee. With an endless variety of styles, configurations, and options, you are sure to find that perfect seat. Stop by Games and Things to upgrade your seats today at the corner of Kingston Pike and Lovell Road. Online at ourgameroom.com. Games and Things, 'cause life should be fun.
Safety Systems, East Tennessee's top provider of home automation, security, and life safety systems.
Home automation.
Our expert technicians can turn your home into a smart home, allowing you to control and monitor everything from lighting and climate to entertainment systems, security systems, and even appliances, all from your phone or tablet. Upgrade your home with a single phone call to Safety Systems, East Tennessee's leader in home automation for more than 20 years.
Chris Smith was once let down by an insurance company, so he became an agent to make sure someone is fighting for you. Shop insurance now. See how Chris can give you peace of mind and save you some money. All insurance is not equal. Trust Chris Smith Insurance.
From works of art to family photos, enhance the beauty and protect your memories with custom frames, museum-quality glass, and guaranteed craftsmanship. Express Frame in the Common Shopping Center on North Peters Road.
Hey folks, it's Jake from Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville. You hear lots of offers with insane prices, unbelievable trade-in promotions, and crazy gimmicks. But aren't you tired of all that noise? Look, at Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, our message is simple. We'll beat any dealership's price on any new Kia, no matter who they are, no matter where they are, period. If you don't buy your new Kia on Callahan Drive, you'll pay too much. Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, I-75 at Callahan Drive.
Captain's Corner, this week, this is why you come to Tennessee. This is why you want to wear orange and white, and this is the reason you play in the SEC. You're going on the road, you're playing a great Oklahoma team with a hostile crowd. Doesn't get any better than that. So how do you stay focused as a leader to make sure your team's following you, right? And that's all about during the week, fundamentals, execution. You're not talking too much about the game because the adrenaline will be there. So you go and you execute, you hang on to the football, you do your assignments right, you teach your body during the week what to expect on Saturday. Now, as for telling them what to expect during the game, you can tell them all day long, but until they truly experience it, it's hard for them to grasp it. We used to always to start off with Auburn. That challenge was you step on the field and you know at Auburn you're going to get hit with frozen oranges, so have your helmet, right? It's probably not quite that extreme at Oklahoma, but it's going to be something like that. Get them ready during the week. Fundamentally, the adrenaline is going to take over and go have fun.
Thanks to former Vol captain Mike Stoll right there. Back at Rusty Wallace Kia on Callahan Drive with Ollie Lane, Kevin Simon. I'm John Pennington. This is a segment we call the game plan, and we talk about, well, the game plan. How does Oklahoma stop Tennessee tonight? It's brought to you by our friends at the Garza Law Firm. And if you find yourself in legal problems at all, first thing you need to do is have a plan to call Marcos Garza. Visit garzalaw.com to learn more about East Tennessee's most respected attorney and his team of experts. They can help you out. They know the local system because they're a part of this community. That's who you need to call, Garza Law. All right. Oklahoma, Brent Venables. If Oklahoma's going to win this game, I don't know that they're going to win a shootout. So they're going to have to stop Tennessee. They're going to have to hold them down. Question is, how does Brent Venables do that? longtime respected defensive coordinator, first-time head coach. To put it in Tennessee perspective, he's a lot like John Chavis, the guy you played for.
Yeah.
He's been there a lot of years as a D coordinator at Oklahoma, then at Clemson. What does he like to do? How do you think he'll try and stop Josh Heupel's offense?
Very multiple, whether it's a 3-4, whether he jumps in 4-3, a lot of different pressures, and they'll bring him from first down, second down, and he likes to play single high safety. So in the run game, he likes to get 8 men back in the box. It's part of the reason why they're as good playing the run as what they are. The one thing that I could see him doing is when he comes with the blitz, a lot of times it's not man pressure, it's zone pressure. So they're playing 3-3 zone behind it. There's some holes in there within the defense, but the biggest thing is you're just not breaking down the protection. They actually have athletes in the back end. They're athletes in the secondary. They can match up with our receivers. They can, but I think the deal for him is it's going to be trying to change Nico's eyes. Making it look like cover 2 or split safety, and then dropping a safety down in the low hole. So just trying to give him multiple looks. Just because he hasn't seen a whole lot.
And not in that environment either. How much, and Ollie, I'll get to you in 1 second. I got one more for you, Kevin, and that is this. Jeff Lebby was the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma last year. He knows that system. They ran what Tennessee runs. How big of an advantage is that at all, that they are very familiar going against this type of offense and that tempo?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's as big of an advantage as any opponent that will play. They practice against us. So the tempo shouldn't shock them. It won't shock them. They'll be able to be prepared for it. And like NC State attempted to do, they'll have one-tag calls. We didn't necessarily catch NC State napping. They just couldn't stop our run game.
Yeah.
But in terms of being set and ready to go, they'll be prepared for the tempo.
Your thoughts on what Oklahoma will do tonight? What they should do tonight? You were on a Tennessee offensive line. Not necessarily about your personal preference, but in terms of whether you felt better or worse about winning a game, did you look out there and say, oh, they're trying to take our deep ball away, or oh, they're trying to take our run away? Did it matter to you, or did you have a preference? Did you feel like there was a better way to attack that offense than others?
Yeah, I think some of the best ways to attack this offense is to take away that deep ball opportunity. Then it forces us to be a little bit less of what we want to do as far as big play drive.
Yeah.
However, if I had a preference, obviously, I think keeping the deep ball away from us is perfect for us, because then we can hit all these little underneath, in-between routes. Then you can start finding avenues for running the ball and stuff like that. I think for them to be the most successful, they're going to have to find a way to handle this run game, get a lock on it. And, I mean, the biggest key for them is just how can they make Nico uncomfortable. He says he likes playing in road games. He likes that environment, but he hasn't been in one, especially in a team this good. Can they make him uncomfortable to make some mistakes, put that pressure on the O-line to force Nico to maybe step out of his comfort zone and try to do some things that he hasn't been forced to do yet?
One thing I would throw out that's going to be key, it's key in every game. And if you look at the numbers, it's basically in SEC play over history. If you turn the ball over, if you're -2 in turnovers, you lose. So you look at the NC State game, Tennessee had a couple of turnovers. You had a pick six that went the other way. And right now, Oklahoma's already +8 on the year. We've talked about aggressive. I keep using that word with Brent Venables. I don't see Oklahoma being able to win this game if they're not turning Tennessee over. I just don't think their offense is good enough to keep pace with your offense unless they're forcing turnovers tonight.
So here's one thing. So on first down, we go fast.
Yeah.
On second down, we go fast. On third down, we still go fast, but we're snapping that ball between 20 to 25. We're not snapping it at 33, 34, or 35.
Yeah.
So what does that do for a defensive coordinator? Knowing that, now I can go ahead and call the pressure like a simulated pressure, which simulated pressure, you get everybody up in line, and they like to show those double A gaps, but sometimes they'll bring the pressure. They actually drop out of it more times than not. But I did see them break down a few protections, running some simulated pressures where they're basically you make it look like we're going to overload one side of the protection, and then we end up getting rushing forward and then dropping into a version of cover 2 behind it. For a young quarterback, it kind of switches his eyes. That's some of the games that I would play if I was in Brent Venables' shoes.
Okay, very good. Appreciate it. When we come back, we've got a little bit more to talk about. We've got the 15 predictions coming your way. We've got a little bit about Jackson Arnold being a dual threat quarterback. I want to know, we'll talk to Ollie about how much this team is going to be on a business trip tonight, or they're going to be out to win one for their coach who's going home. Come on back on the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff.
For 4 generations, A.G. Hines Company has been a pillar of the Knoxville community. And since Albert Hines Sr. opened our doors back in 1920, we've been supplying do-it-yourselfers with revolutionary products and tools. With Nudura insulated concrete forms, your project will be both rock solid and more energy efficient than steel or wood structures. Cutting-edge materials and tools at affordable prices. That's what we've provided for more than a century at A.G. Hines Company.
A day on the lake is more than just time on the water. It's a memory, a story that can last a lifetime. And no one makes memories like Madisonville Marine. Terrific prices, first-class customer service, and the area's biggest selection of boats like Skeeter bass boats. For more than 75 years, generations of anglers have trusted Skeeter, the best engineered boats on the water. Ensure a smooth, dry, safe trip to your favorite fishing hole. Madisonville Marine. There's no better place to buy a boat.
It's kickoff time in Tennessee.
Hey folks, it's Jake from Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, and it's time for you to score the biggest deals of the season. You can get in the end zone with up to $10,000 over KBB value for your trade. And as always, every new Kia comes with Rusty's exclusive 200,000-mile warranty. So draw up the winning play and hurry in today to get up to $10,000 over KBB value for your trade. Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, I-75 at Callahan Drive.
From family heirlooms to sports memorabilia, protect and showcase your treasures with custom frames and shadow boxes, each with a lifetime guarantee. Express Frame in the Common Shopping Center on North Peters Road.
Every Sunday morning, The Sports Source brings you 90 minutes of honest, intelligent Vols coverage. More analysts, more topics, more fun. The Sports Source, Sundays at 11 on WATE TV 6 and WATE.com.
Welcome back into the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. This is the segment where we bring you 15 different score predictions. It's brought to you by Chris Smith Insurance. Chris is my agent. He insures everything from my car to our brand new studio and everything in between. Chris is a farmer's agent. He's also an independent agent, which means he's got multiple ways to help protect you, your family, and your property. Chris Smith Insurance. Time now for those predictions in a segment we call Who, How, and Why.
All right, guys, I'm going to say Tennessee wins tonight 31-20. I think it's more competitive than Tennessee fans have wanted to think this week, but I do think Tennessee runs the ball with success. Tennessee creates enough pressure to cause problems for Jackson Arnold, and in the end, Tennessee's offense is too much for OU to keep up with.
Yeah, we're on the same page Tennessee-wise. I've got 31-27. It's Tennessee scoring early in the fourth quarter for that game-winning, put it ahead for good score. Oklahoma late. Could they? No. I think Nico's taking a knee. I think the Vols enter their first open date 4-0. And now people are really going to be talking about Knoxville football.
I've got Tennessee winning this game 34-27. I think it's going to be closer than a lot of Vols fans think. And I saw where Oklahoma has not been as much as a 7-point underdog at home since 1998. So it could be tougher than a lot of Vols fans think.
This is obviously Tennessee's biggest test of the season to date. I think it's a big test for Nico Iamaleava going on the road for the first time in a tough environment. It's a big test for Tennessee across the board. They've struggled in some of these games under Josh Heupel on the road, but I think Tennessee is just the better team. I think the Vols' run game will make some plays. Their defensive line will make a difference on the other side of the ball. I think Tennessee wins 34-24 over the Sooners.
The hype has been building up for Hype's return to Oklahoma. This is a tough one because we'll truly see if Tennessee is as good as advertised. I do think the Vols control the trenches, especially against the Oklahoma offensive line. That's the biggest difference in this one. Tennessee wins 34-17.
Score prediction for Oklahoma and Tennessee. Well, they finally break the ice and the defense gives up a touchdown. But I don't think it's going to be too many. I think it's going to be Tennessee 35, Oklahoma 17.
I'll take Tennessee 37, Oklahoma 21. Oklahoma's offensive line hasn't seen a front like Tennessee's. The receivers are banged up. They don't have the firepower to keep up with a Tennessee offense that's going to score against an Oklahoma defensive front that doesn't have the manpower to slow down Tennessee's running game, which is really the base around this entire offense. So I like the Vols to go to Norman and give Josh Heupel a very happy homecoming.
Tennessee gets the win at Oklahoma 38-28 as Josh Heupel gets revenge against the team that fired him. Watch for Heupel to pull a few new tricks out of his bag and for the Tennessee defense to contain Oklahoma's offense.
I'm taking Tennessee in this game, and I don't think it's going to be entirely close. I'll take them 41-20 over Oklahoma. And funny enough, it's the first time Oklahoma, as a ranked team since 1978, is a home underdog of more than 4 points. I think we'll see Tennessee cover the spread and some in this game because I just think Nico's just going to be too strong for that Oklahoma defense.
I'm going to go in the same ballpark. I think it'll be Tennessee 38, Oklahoma 28, maybe tacking on a late touchdown at the end of Oklahoma to make it look a little bit more respectable. But I feel pretty good about Tennessee being a touchdown, 10-point winner in this game.
Yeah, I like Tennessee to win too, but my margin of victory is similar to yours, 35-14 Tennessee. I think you're going to see defense be the story for Tennessee. Higher level competition, but there's still that line of scrimmage, I think, is definitely an advantage for the Vols. I think Nico will play well. Even if he has any blip in the radar, I think he'll bounce back. I think you'll see Tennessee be in control for a good part of that game.
I basically have Vince's score, except I think Josh Heupel tacks one on at the end because it's Oklahoma. So I've got 42-13. I think Tennessee wins, but it probably is with a little bonus at the end.
All right, that's everybody else's predictions. Time for ours. I'm going to take Tennessee to win them like everybody else, and I'll credit Josh Heupel. If you'd asked me this a few years ago when he first got here, would I be picking Tennessee to win on the road at Oklahoma? I would have said, are you crazy? It's unbelievable what he's done. I'm taking Tennessee. I'll take them 34-21. I just don't think Oklahoma, barring turnovers, has the horses to keep up with Tennessee. Kevin, what's your pick?
Yeah, I'm taking Tennessee. So 31-23, things going to be a tight game. Venables is going to try to speed Nico up. He's going to try to slow him down with some of the drop eights and stuff like that. But I feel like he has enough poise to him to not turn the ball over. Plus, I feel like we'll be able to run for enough yards to get the dub. Give me Tennessee.
Ollie.
Yeah, I'm taking Tennessee 42-17. I think we're too overpowerful for them, and I think at the end of it we might stumble out of the gates, but this offense is going to score points. That's what it's built for.
Okay, well, as we wrap up here, I've got a question for each of you, about 30 seconds. Ollie, here's yours. Is Josh Heupel going to show any emotion to his team? Are they going to know, if they've known already, that, oh, this guy wants this one. It's his homecoming. And along that line, are they going to be out to win this for him, or is this a business trip?
I don't know. I'd say it's a little bit of a mix of both. You know, obviously it's known in the locker room what Coach Heupel's emotions are towards the game and stuff like that. He doesn't let it out a ton, like won't comment on it. But I mean, it's just kind of known. And you know, these guys on this team want to fight for him. They want to go out and compete for Coach Heupel every day. But at the same time, it is still a business trip. They're still fighting for the University of Tennessee to bring the glory back to the University of Tennessee where it should be.
Kevin, got about 30 seconds to let you close this one out. We haven't talked about Jackson Arnold's legs. He hasn't been great throwing the ball yet. He's got two receivers back. He's a dual threat guy. How big of a concern?
Well, it's a big concern for a defensive coach. I mean, you usually don't have to go against the QB runs. He's the leading rusher on the team. If Oklahoma has a chance to win this game, his legs are going to be a big part of it.
All right, very good. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. We will see you tomorrow morning. Right back here, about 23 hours from now. We'll be here for the Sports Source. We'll break down the Tennessee-Oklahoma game. It'll be 5 media members. It'll be 5 VFLs. It's 10 people in an hour and a half to break down Tennessee-Oklahoma. We will see you then. Thanks again from Rusty Wallace Kia on Callahan Drive. Enjoy the game.
The Sports Source Saturday Kickoff is presented by Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville on Callahan Drive and by the Garza Law Firm.